You got to get your.
Hey, what's going on, folks? How are you doing tonight? Welcome to the Rinkcast. I'm your host, Andy Campbell. I hope you are all well and you are all excited about the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. We got a brief one for you with some good characters, though. Eric Andrews is here with us, content editor of the Rink, as well as Sean Fitzgerald. What's up, guys? What's going on? What's up, Eric?
Not a whole lot. I'm hoping that the hamster wheel holds up tonight. So that's really the main thing. But I'll throw this in there because I know you'll appreciate this, Andy. But the other day I received my first physical Connor Bedard Blackhawks item, being a top sticker from his debut game. So
love it.
That's pretty cool.
That's really good. Well, hope to see some more, and especially that first goal card that some of us are eagerly awaiting to come out, namely myself, for the holidays. Very exciting stuff. And Sean, you got some new gear. Where were you, my friend? You've been busy.
I was at the University of Notre Dame on Saturday. See them play football against Wake Forest. Sam Hartman's last home start. It was actually pretty cool. I saw a girl wearing a Wake Forest shirt that says Sam Hartman is a traitor. So that was pretty funny. So I got this new hat here. I got some of the Ireland stuff. My wife got some stuff. So it was a great weekend in November. It was awesome. And the University of Notre Dame hockey split with the University of Minnesota. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. Well, we love to see that. And we're going to get into one of the prospects that you saw while you were there in a little bit. But what we want to talk about first tonight are our lowly Chicago Blackhawks, who are really struggling. And folks, they're on a little bit of a skid here. They're losing close games. They are battling. They are playing very hard for Luke Richardson. However, they are outstaffed. They are outclassed. They just don't have the horses right now to compete in the NHL. And that is pretty glaring. Before we open it up to some tidbits or we start breaking it down a little bit further, what are some initial thoughts, Eric, while watching the Blackhawks these last few games in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think really just kind of echoing what you said there, and the compete level being very apparent is very encouraging, because when you start racking up losses, and I think is it 4 in a row now?
Yeah.
You know, obviously that can start to get frustrating, and you heard some frustration from some of the guys after the game yesterday. Right. I know Nick Foligno had some pretty insightful quotes during his presser, and
very vocal.
It's encouraging in a regard that they do expect more from themselves and know that they can get the results. So, if they keep putting in these efforts, and, I think most people feel like they are putting in a good effort, even if they maybe feel they're not putting together a full 60 minutes. Right. You still see that they are still putting in a solid effort right to the end of the game. And, for a team that doesn't have a whole lot of talent, that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And I think the games are certainly more entertaining. You go in there hopeful. You watch games hopeful, thinking, oh, maybe they can get a W out of this. Maybe Bedard's going to get a lot of points. But Sean, are you feeling that same way? Obviously, your dog is. Not very pleased about the recent output on the ice.
Yeah, for sure. She's definitely not pleased about the output on the ice. But so they're obviously a uniquely flawed team, and they don't have enough offensive talent to compete. Right. So they have to be perfect in every aspect of their game. And if they're not, if they have a defensive lapse, for instance, I think Zach Benson got that bad angle goal against Buffalo, like they can't overcome those things like other teams can. So is it frustrating for them? I'm sure it really is. But there are a lot of positives, like even in this 4-game losing streak. Like when Connor Bedard has time in the open ice, like he is lethal.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of growing pains with Kevin Korchinski committing those 2 penalties in the second period consecutively. It was good to see my guy Taylor Radish get that goal. He only
that's your guy. What did you say? 25.
25. He needs 22 more. That was number 3.
He's got some work to do, Sean.
He's got to start pumping some goals. I really like the energy that fourth line brings, and I thought if I was Richardson, I would have ran the second power play unit out.
Yeah, they look good.
They looked real like Kurashev carrying it into the zone and then just attacking. I thought they looked better than the first line.
That first group, I don't know.
Pass too much.
It's Seth Jones crossing the red line, dropping into Bedard, and then a turnover. But I think that the power play has been dismal. There's certainly that. But the one thing, and we were going on and on about it last night, when we were DMing during the game, is the Blackhawks in the dot, is in the faceoff dot. It's just killing their season. For any of you folks out there was this myth maybe 4 or 5 years ago that faceoffs in the NHL don't matter. The Hawks are 32nd in the NHL at 43.3% as a team, which is the league worst. Second to last are the Buffalo Sabres, who are right above that, who are killing them in the dot last night, who are beating them in every single draw. And particularly on these power plays, when a penalty happens and the Blackhawks have an offensive zone faceoff, they lose the draw. It gets cleared all the way down, and then they can't get back in the zone. And all of a sudden, they finally set up with maybe 25 seconds left in the power play. And so their zone entries are poor, and they can't win faceoffs. And I really think that's a huge contributor to losing. But we shouldn't be surprised about this, should we, Eric? I mean, considering who their centers are.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable, but, like you were saying, it is making a huge difference in the outcome of games, whether people want to accept that fact or not. I mean, like you said, if you do not have any sustained pressure on a power play for the first 3 quarters of it, that's not a good situation. So, I mean, it's painfully obvious. And I think, it probably is most apparent on the power play just because of that direct impact that you see from it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's all game long, losing draws here and there. And, that leading to opportunities for the other team. And then, you're getting caught out on the ice for extended shifts. And then you have breakdowns defensively and you're turning over the puck and making mistakes. And it all just kind of compounds. And, it starts at the dot. And, it's unfortunate and definitely frustrating.
I mean, if you lose a faceoff when Wyatt Kaiser's on the ice, you are going to be in your own zone for at least $1.25.
Yeah. I think they were on the penalty kill in the second period, and I think they were in there. I think at one point
it's over 2 minutes.
It was over 2 minutes. Yeah, they were. It was Reese Johnson or Mackenzie Entwistle and Connor Murphy. I think were on the ice for over 2 minutes for that entire thing.
Really. So I think that is the one glaring thing. Every time they get a power play and they've got that offensive zone faceoff and they lose the draw, my blood just boils. Because you immediately think, well, the power play's over because their zone entries are garbage. They're not. I don't know when this drop back to one player and have him try to carve through.
They've done it for years.
Yeah, and I don't think the Blackhawks have ever been good at it.
No, and they've cycled through how many coaches coaching the power play, and it still doesn't improve.
No, I don't know.
Well, one thing I kind of thought was funny, too, is Buffalo had the same power play entry last night, and it didn't really work for them either.
No, I don't know what's going on, why this is like the new thing. I mean, you're almost better off just doing a soft chip into a corner and putting two forwards on one defenseman.
Yep.
And just trying to win a puck battle and then set it up.
Well, and that's part of the problem with the entry, too, is especially with the Hawks, is Jones will bring it up, he'll drop it back to Bedard, and then by the time Bedard even gets to the center line, the other 4 guys are all standing still.
They're standing,
so even if he dumps it in, they're not going to beat the defenseman to it. So then they just get it and ice it all the way down. So then it's just another 20 seconds wasted and you didn't accomplish anything.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Can you decline power plays?
You probably should.
I mean, people have been asking that for years.
It totally should. That'd be awesome. That'd be a great take. Well, Sean... Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean. What were you going to say?
No, I was just thinking, it's so bad. Why at the trade deadline does Kyle Davidson give up a 6th round pick for somebody who can win faceoff? It could be anybody who could win faceoff, so they can run him out of the ice, win the faceoff, and get off the ice.
Just give Yannick Perreault a contract.
There you go.
He's already there.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even Corey Perry sometimes in the dot is better than any other option. Just because that I don't know, but it's not pretty. What is pretty right now, though, Sean, is my guy, Kurashev. Philipp Kurashev. We're talking Kurashev mania right now. He's a point per game player. How about that? 10 points in 10 games. for Kurashev, who joined the Hawks a little bit late, and he's been playing with Connor Bedard, and it's been working. Shawnee, he's fun to watch, is he not?
He is. He's fun to watch. He's been making these smart plays. Like he's going in the corner. He puts the puck on net. The Taylor Radish goal, he literally put the puck toward net, and Radish just deflected it in. It wasn't like he was trying to make some behind the back pass or do the Michigan or anything like that. He wins puck battles. His ozone entries on power play number 2, like I said earlier, have been good. Yeah. Like I think he's benefited with playing with Connor Bedard, and Connor Bedard has benefited playing with him.
Yeah.
Like I think that's working for them. I'm excited. I really hope this is the start of Philipp Kurashev's breakout a little bit, because we've always called him Steady Eddie. He's always been there, you know. But maybe he's more than what we've seen in the past, because he hasn't been really playing with anybody of any skill. And what he does well, what Connor Bedard does well. They don't cross paths in that regard.
Yeah, I think this is the first time too you're really seeing Kurashev create on his own. Where I don't know. I mean, he had that one highlight reel goal his rookie year where he just went end to end, and that could be anybody, but you can think of, the goal last night, that pass to Radish was one. The other one was in Tampa Bay, and you may have touched on this in last week's podcast. But when Bedard scored that goal in the first period, when he beat Hedman to the net, Kurashev's move to the front of the goal mouth to get him that puck was a very veteran. A very veteran move. No, but it was just more of that was a seasoned pro move, using your body. And you don't have to be huge as long as you use your body in the right way and protecting the puck and get into the goal mouth. But, Eric, are you excited about Kurashev at all? I've always really enjoyed his game, but I did not expect this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I said this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago or something, but he's just a very versatile player that can kind of do a lot of different things fairly well. He's not great at, any given thing, but he does a lot of things pretty well. And he's able to kind of use whatever skill set that might be to complement the players that he's with. So I think why we're seeing, kind of that offensive output starting to shine is because he is playing with more skilled players, right, such as Connor Bedard. Whereas, in the past couple of years, if he's down on the third or fourth line, playing with Entwistle or Reese Johnson or whoever, he's just not going to have those opportunities to really do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it happened.
The hamster wheel.
We were all worried about Eric's internet tonight, folks.
Am I here?
He's here.
You're back.
Okay.
Eric's back. Continue.
All
Go
on. What's been apparent to me is just playing with those skilled players, I think, has really kind of unlocked an offensive confidence. I mean, I think his ability has always been there, but seeing himself actually doing things and producing, I think, is just, adding to that confidence and furthering his ability to make plays and, be willing to try things and, things like that. So I think it's kind of a combination of that confidence and the opportunity combined with, just a well-rounded skill set is allowing him to perform pretty well here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a guy that has never scored any more than 9 goals in a season, and through 10 games, he's got 4 already. And he's on the right side of the play a lot. He's a responsible hockey player in every way, shape, or form. Now, their new line mate, now you've got Bedard, Kurashev, and then you've got Lukas Reichel. Folks, how long have we been saying this for? 2 months or so that folks on the Ringer said you're going to see Reichel with Bedard at some point. And they are creating. Are there any worries about that? I mean, they are going to. Ben Pope just wrote an article today. I haven't read it yet.
Either.
Saying that there are going to be some serious defensive miscues. And do you just kind of say, fine, let them get scored on whenever that happens, but let these kids run and let them figure it out? Are we at that point, Sean?
I think we are. I think, especially for Reichel's benefit, who's kind of scuffled a little bit in the offensive zone, I think playing with Bedard, playing with Kurashev, and creating hopefully gets his offensive game going. I mean, yes, he had the assist against Nashville, I believe it was, or the game before that, but he really hasn't done much offensively. So if he plays with creative Connor Bedard, if Kurashev can do stuff in the dirty area for them, then I think I'd much rather see that just from a purely entertainment factor. See those guys run and fly up and down the ice. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And I think put your best skilled players all together. And I think as far as the forwards, that's what you've got. And you've got young guys. They've got a lot to learn. They may as well learn together. They are going to get scored on a ton. Bedard can create and Kurashev can create. And honestly, Lukas Reichel at this point in his career cannot. So he needs to be with players of that fabric. I don't know how many puck battles they're going to win. That's the one thing where when they end up playing teams that are strong defensively or strong physical teams, they might just be outmatched physically in that sense. I am excited on Wednesday night when hopefully they'll run wild against Columbus, who's struggling right now. So hopefully that'll be a time for them to.
It's going to be a real battle of juggernauts.
Yeah, but I think that those are the games that you might, I think that could be more entertaining right now for Chicago Blackhawks fans to watch, just considering that they could be rich in offensive chances from two subpar NHL teams. If it's a 6-4 game, everybody wins for entertainment value. That's for sure.
100%.
Yeah. So we'll see. So in that sense, and I know we're kind of flying along here right now, but that's the beauty of tonight. When you got three guys, you can just cook. The Blackhawks are second to last in the NHL right now. They finished third to last in the NHL when they hit the lottery last year and got the first overall pick, Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard. It is conceivable. It is very real that they could land the top pick overall in the 2024 draft or the second overall pick. And folks, if you've had your head in the sand or you're not, following, the NHL very regularly right now, it's going to be another pretty good draft. It will not be as rich in talent as perhaps 2023 was, but there are two top prospects that are heading up the draft list that are top of the line prospects. And one is Macklin Celebrini, who's currently at Boston University, and he's tearing it up. He is expected to go number 1 overall, and going number 2 overall will be Cole Iserman, who's at the U.S. Development Program, and he's headed to Boston University next year. The expectation is Macklin Celebrini will not be there. If he goes 1 overall, he's going to the NHL. Iserman could probably still go to BU, or I don't know if he's second overall. Does the team try to sign him? Eric, talk to me about these two prospects. Who are they? And now all of a sudden the Blackhawks are we in tank 2.0? Is this happening again? Do the Hawks start thinking about making moves or a lack thereof or trading parts earlier to make sure, okay, then let's finish in the basement again?
Simply put, no. The reason for that is while Celebrini and Iserman and some of the other guys are very good prospects, they're not these generational type of talents. Yeah, and, right. Even last year, or I guess, earlier this year, even if they didn't get Bedard, you still had Fantilli and Carlson sitting there who were, I would say both of those guys would have a very legitimate shot of going first overall in 2024, right. If not just outright. I think Fantilli definitely would have. And based on the fact Carlson went ahead of him, then he probably would have as well. So, to me, no, it's not a tank year. It's not, we have to get Celebrini, we have to get Iserman, but it will be a very good consolation prize as a result. Right. Celebrini is kind of more of that, offensive, skilled type of player. Definitely different than Bedard. I mean, he's not at that level, but just a smooth, crafty offensive player. Whereas Iserman's a little bit bigger, can kind of do a little bit more versatile of a game. It's kind of not exactly the same, but kind of like, Bedard and Fantilli, it's kind of the same type of thing. They're both very good players, but just they offer a little bit different of a style of play. So yeah, they're both very exciting, but it's not even just the two of them. If the Hawks finish, outside of, the bottom 3 and, don't get a top 3 pick, and, even if they're in, even if they are third, or if they're, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's still a handful of guys after Celebrini and Iserman that are going to be very, very productive players. And, I don't think the Hawks can really go wrong with any of them. And they'll really just be kind of in a best player available type of position, regardless of where they're picking.
Yeah, I agree with that. And folks, just for reference right now, Macklin Celebrini, the consensus number 1 overall pick, has played 11 games at Boston University. He has 9 goals, 13 assists, which is good for 22 points. Now, I could look up real quick where that ranks in NCAA, but it's got to be high, if not the leading scorer.
It's 8th.
It's 8th. Okay. But it's way up there. I mean, the kid has got all the tools. He's a flyer. He's got a lot of speed. And so he's a real player. And I mean, what's so fascinating is that the Blackhawks are trending right now to have a top 5 overall pick, as well as a pick in the low teens from the Brandon Hagel trade, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you that were so desperate to hold on to Brandon Hagel and said, how could they give him up? Oliver Moore was the first real net value in that. And sure, you can say Boris Tkachuk and Taylor Radish. I know Sean's going to say, well, they got Taylor Radish in that.
No, I wasn't going to say. I was going to say how many former Blackhawks organization players are on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I could list off at least 5 right now.
It's great.
Is that why they're struggling so much? I mean, Darren Radish, Brandon Hagel, Matt Tompkins,
go after all of
Tyler Mott.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there could be some real assets that the Blackhawks could still pick up in this upcoming draft. And so, I like that take though, Eric. You're not trying to lose right now. You're not. And the Blackhawks aren't playing that way, and they weren't playing that way last year. They were just that bad.
It's just the natural result of the team that's on the ice, and that's okay.
And so, agreed. Let that play out. They will probably get a top 5 pick. I also don't think I don't know what other NHL hockey fans would do if the Blackhawks ended up with the number 1 overall pick again.
Oh, it would just be
pretty. I don't.
There would be so much just hate.
I know. And honestly, if Gary Bettman did not meddle with the last draft to ensure that the Blackhawks got Connor Bedard, the first overall pick, which I truly believe he did not, it is in his best interest to meddle with this one and make sure they don't get the first overall pick.
Yeah,
it's for sure. You can't let that happen. I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I don't see a world where that could be okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, do you have any thoughts, Shawnee, about?
I'm going to defer to you guys on this one. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to check out or read up on some of the future prospective draft picks. I kind of defer to you guys on that one. You guys know more about that stuff.
Well, no, I'm talking also about kind of the tank methodology and where does this whole thing go? Or
I don't think
the team will improve. I think this time.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to tank. Ray tweeted that they're just something similar to this. They're just outgunned right now. Like they don't have enough offensive talent. They can't win faceoffs, and Wyatt Kaiser needs to be sent down to Rockford, I believe was the summary of his tweet. And he's 100% spot on. Like that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
I cannot for the life of me figure out why Wyatt Kaiser is untouchable. I just don't. With the kind of defensemen that they have in Rockford, marinating, getting ready, guys like Nolan Allen.
Yeah. Ethan Del Mastro.
It is good. Isaac Phillips is doing very well. He had a good game.
He had a good game yesterday.
Game.
Yeah. And Panger pointed that out. And I still think, and I've said it a couple times, and I'll continue to say that Alex Vlasic's development should be the mold. Like you draft a guy, 100%. You let him play a full season at Rockford, and then you see where he's at. And that's what they did with Alex Vlasic, and he is by far one of their best defensemen, and he's just been solid. It hasn't been flashy. It's just been solid NHL defense, and that's what they're going to need.
Yeah, I don't. And there's two defensemen right now that are out of place because they're just so young that they have no idea what they're doing, and that's Kaiser and Korchinski.
Yep.
And I think Korchinski, you don't have a choice. If you have him here, he's got to play. Kaiser, you don't. You can send him back, to figure that out. But I don't know.
And I think Kaiser's the cautionary tale that I know we're going to get into NCAA prospects here in a little bit. Spoiler alert. But but Kaiser is kind of the cautionary tale in that, and we've seen it before with other overhyped prospects, Ian Mitchell and those guys like that. Like even if you play at the top level of the NCAA, like unless you're like unless you're Adam Fantilli or guys like that, like you probably still need some seasoning in the AHL just to get ready for the NHL, because it is a transition. And I know everybody's so excited about the future, and we're going to talk about some of the guys to be excited about, but let's not start wish casting these guys into the starting lineup next season, or wish casting in 2 years. Everybody's going to be at the NHL level. These are going to be our top 6 players and our top 4 defensemen, and 4 of those guys haven't played a single NHL or AHL game yet.
Yeah,
that's just kind of my sermon on that, because I think I see it a lot on X, formerly known as Twitter. People will be like, I can't wait for this guy to be here. Yeah, I can't wait for this guy to be here either.
It's gonna be a while. Yeah.
But I want him to be here when they're ready to go, when we're ready to roll. I don't want him to be here and we get all excited, they're not ready, and then we have to wait, or the fan base turns on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, you've got guys like Nolan Allen, and you've got guys like Del Mastro, where there is more of a plan right now than Wyatt Kaiser. And maybe that is the plan. Maybe the plan is maybe they don't think Kaiser's ultimately going to be part of this. And I don't know. Maybe that's conspiracy theory at its finest.
Or he has the most offensive skill and they want to see what he has, because Nolan Allen's more of a stay-at-home defenseman, I believe is what Eric said.
Yes,
and
yes.
Same with Del Mastro.
Del Mastro is built in the same mold. So maybe you want to see what you got with your offensive defenseman before he's... Yeah.
Well, and another thing too with that is keep in mind that Kaiser is older, so he is, I think, a year ahead of them. So, I mean, theoretically, he should be farther along in his development than they are, but that doesn't mean he's ready either.
Yeah. So they're not tanking, folks. They're going for it. They're trying.
Kenny Williams, we're going for it.
We're going for it, but the results are going to be similar. I mean, I think the Blackhawks are going to be a team that finishes near the basement. And are going to be
really fun to watch.
They're really fun to watch, and they're going to be another pole position draft year, which is really cool. Speaking of those recent drafts, tonight we want to touch base, and we're going to try to write a piece on this, hopefully before Thanksgiving, if Andy can get his act together. Third person language. The Blackhawks have a lot of prospects in the NCAA pipeline right now. Now, contrary to one of our buddies who hates the NCAA, some guy that went off on us on Twitter maybe a year or so ago, said NCAA is the dumbest thing ever. It ruins prospects, and not with their team.
Out on training camp.
Right. College hockey's never been better than it is right now. It is loaded with NHL talent, the talent of the future. I went to the Beanpot last year, and in 2 hockey games watched 43 NHL picks that had organizations that had already tabbed them. And that was over 2 college hockey games with Boston University, Boston College, Northeastern, and Harvard. So that's just one example of how loaded the NCAA ranks are. We talked about before we got on the show, the Big Ten right now is big time, I guess you could say. A lot of talent. Wisconsin, I believe, is number 1 in the country.
I believe so, yeah.
I think they still are. But the 2 prospects that everyone is talking about from Chicago, and we're going to get to some of their other NCAA prospects, but I guess you could talk about the top 2 being Oliver Moore and Frank Nazar, or Nazar, depending on who you're asking.
Or whatever I call him.
And then the third level of that is whatever Sean pronounces his name to be, which is open to interpretation. We're all waiting for that. Eric Andrews, I want to start with you because you've always been high on Oliver Moore. And I want to touch base on the Golden Gopher, the freshman. Serious candidate for the USA World Junior team, I would assume.
Yeah, definitely.
And this kid so far has been everything that the Blackhawks and that people were hoping he was going to be at the NCAA level. What say you?
Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, it's been very exciting to see him step in as a true freshman on one of the best teams in the nation and perform right out of the gate. Has he been as good as Macklin Celebrini, for example? No, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, he has looked very good, albeit a fairly limited sample size so far, but given the conference, I mean, Minnesota is playing very strong teams each and every night. So, the fact that he's getting results and, being effective as a true freshman right out of the gate against good competition is very encouraging, especially because it's not even just all about his offensive game. He's a very smart player. Obviously, we all know about how great of a skater he is, and he's able to use that to be effective defensively as well, which is also very encouraging. So, so far the overall package of what Moore has been able to do in college is very exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, I think projectability wise, I mean, because you said he has that defensive game, could he be that maybe second or third line guy? I mean, he's got a ton of speed. If he's got defensive responsibility, I mean, hey, we certainly need those guys.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, the way that I'm viewing him right now, and of course it's all subject to change and we have to see it at the pro level and everything, of course, but as it seems like he is trending right now, I would say that being that 3C is like the floor for him, and you hope that there is enough offense that he can be a 2C.
Yeah, okay. And we're not going to see him for a while. I mean, he'll do at least one more year. He might even do 3 years at the U.
Yeah, there's no rush
before they sign.
I think Gates said a couple times that 3 years, I think, was the trajectory for him.
Yeah. Now, 19th overall pick, also part of that Brandon Hagel trade. That was the Tampa Bay Lightning pick. Somehow, the fastest skater in the NHL draft fell to 19.
Yeah.
So the Blackhawks got Bedard and Oliver Moore in one draft. And Eric, for you and I, who had been coveting the draft a lot before that, you and I ran that mock draft together, and I think we may have had him at like 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
or did we have him at 9 going to Detroit? I don't know, but it
sounds right. Yeah, I mean that's where a lot of people were, kind of projecting him to be somewhere in that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range. And as it got to that point in the draft, now keep in mind that still to this day, no one knows what the Arizona Coyotes were doing with their picks. So that's 2 guys there. But once you got into the teens, all of those teams just started going mainly for size, it seemed like. I mean, Matthew Wood and Samuel Honzik and Kobe Barlow and guys like that. But all those teams in that range clearly had their eye on specific players and didn't care who else was on the board. They were going for those guys. So as a result, Moore ended up falling down the board, which, I know we were texting as it was happening, Andy. We were just in disbelief.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
awesome.
How is this happening? Like, how did this guy fall to 19?
I believe Kyle Davidson did an interview and said he was on the phone trying to trade up to get, and he just kept falling and he couldn't understand it. So, and I think
so here we did our mock draft last year. Eric and I did the mock draft June 26th of 2023. And it was my pick at 11th overall to the Vancouver Canucks, and I chose Oliver Moore. And we wrote, the Canucks have a variety of needs, and with this pick, the best move is to take the best pure skater in the draft. He's an exciting player. He's a pure blazer. He could be brilliant in the Big Ten next year. And on and on. And we even wrote, the last thing we wrote was, that's incredible value at the 11th overall. And so there he went at 19. Whew. Yay us. No, so Oliver Moore, very exciting. But then the other player that we did not get to see in action very much for the University of Michigan last year due to injury was the Blackhawks' 13th overall pick or 14th overall pick? 13 in 2022. They acquired that pick by trading Kirby Dach, who we hope is having a speedy recovery in Montreal. I don't know. Yeah, my heart aches for Kirby Dach. Truthfully, I think we should all be rooting for him. But obviously, if the Hawks had the opportunity to make that trade again, they certainly would do it. And Frank Nazar, or as Sean might say, Nassar. I don't know. What do you have for Nassar in pronunciation?
Nassar the third.
Yeah. But Sean, have you been watching this guy at all this year? He's at University of Michigan. He's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, he's got a 7-game point streak. I know Michigan's played. They just beat Penn State, who was like we were saying earlier, the Big Ten is just like the murderer's row of teams. And he's, every time you see it, he's making either a highlight goal or a highlight assist. Like, the hype is real with this guy for right now. And he came off the injury, which was a big concern, and I'm glad to see him. The biggest thing I'm glad to see out of him is that he's healthy. That's the big thing, because he came back at the end of last year. People still didn't know about his health a little bit. He played towards the end of that season, and I think played in the tournament for them. Michigan obviously has a great program, and they just continue to churn out guys. He's probably playing with better guys right now that he would play with on the Blackhawks currently. So, yeah, I'm excited for him, and he's one of the guys that I think when he eventually does decide to sign his ELC, that people are going to have wild expectations for. So, but yeah, he's having a good year. I don't think I was looking earlier. He hasn't been. Is he in? Sorry, I had it up and I have too many browsers open now. I was looking to see if he was ranked, what his points per game was, but I can't seem to.
Well, no, he's got 16 in 14 games, so I mean he's doing pretty well. You know, he's another one. I mean, again, Team USA. Come the holidays, he's probably going to be on that roster.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, should be. Now he's at center right now, but Eric, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion, or maybe ultimately he's going to be a winger. Are you feeling that vibe?
Yeah, as far as, long-term projection, as far as an NHL career, I definitely see him more as a winger. I just think that's going to suit his game better and allow him to be more effective, especially. And I think the pressure, quote unquote pressure, for him to be a center will go away if Moore can be a second line center.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, just the game that he plays, I think would probably be better suited for the wing at the NHL level. So I think people need to kind of, at least understand that that's a very realistic possibility. He's probably not going to be this elite offensive second line center that, is just a dynamite talent. And I probably, he could end up being, a winger for Bedard down the road, but if you go that route, then that's two, fairly small players. So I don't know if that's really where they want to go with it long term. So to me, it's kind of like I'm envisioning him being like the second line right wing of the future.
Yeah. Again, another good player to have.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That sounds pretty darn good to me.
He's played more games this year than he did all of last season, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing I want to mention too, obviously coming back from the injury has been, kind of the storyline with him over the last year. But, to me, what stands out is that he hasn't been playing tentatively, especially this season. He's really been assertive. He's going out there saying, I'm going to make stuff happen. Whereas, I think even back in the spring when he was first coming back, he was a little bit more hesitant, which is totally understandable. So, seeing him come into this season and really kind of having that, grab the bull by the horns type of mentality and really going out there and wanting to make things happen is very encouraging, especially in light of the injury and the recovery. Yeah,
that's awesome. Now, there's one other prospect from that same draft that's playing at the University of Minnesota with Oliver Moore right now, who's another Team USA World Junior hopeful. That's a 25th overall pick from the 2022 draft, Sam Rinzel. 6'4", maybe about $190, 200 pounds right now, I think. I mean, he's still pretty slender. Drafted straight out of high school. In Minnesota. Now, the 25th overall pick, if my memory serves me correctly, that was from the Sam Lafferty trade to Toronto, I believe.
It's the Peter Mrazek trade.
Yeah.
Peter Mrazek deal. Okay, got it. But anyway, Rinzel belongs. I mean, this is a freshman defenseman playing at the University of Minnesota and is doing awfully well. I mean, he's involved. He's playing special teams. He's played 12 games. He's got 7 apples right now, and he's got an even rating. And if you're doing that well, as a 19-year-old, a recent 19-year-old in the Big Ten, as a defenseman, that's saying something. So be on the lookout for him too, folks, for World Junior. I mean, these 3 guys that we are discussing right now, we'll probably be seeing them at the international level for that.
And they're all great skaters. Rinzel was the highest rated skater of his age, and I think he was like 17th in the the NHL Central Scouting report.
Yeah. So if you can find a cheap flight to Sweden, right after Christmas, and you want to see the future of the Blackhawks, follow Team USA at the World Juniors. Actually, if you're a Blackhawk fan, this might be the year to go to the World Junior Tournament to catch some of this talent. So those are the three hopefuls. Now, a player that I wanted to talk about, another NCAA prospect, who was one of the last players cut from Team Canada last year, that unbelievable team that won gold with Bedard and all those guys. And Del Mastro and Korchinski and Allen and more Blackhawk prospects. Now, I think Ryan Green at Boston University. I think he's aged out of the tournament. He turned 20 in October. I think that ages him out. Because I think you need to be shy of 20 when the tournament begins.
Yep.
I think that's right. But Ryan Green is someone nobody really talks about Ryan Green in the Blackhawks prospect poll, or not that many people do. And I'm pretty high on this guy. Reason being, Ryan Green, he is a true centerman. And I mean that in terms of, if you watch him play, he moves laterally like a center. He's always on the defensive side of the puck. He's good in the faceoff circle. He's the first center out on the ice for Boston University when they're killing a penalty. He's the center on the ice who's on their power play, and that is a power play where all five guys are going to play in the NHL at some point. Boston University is that good. So Ryan Green, second-round pick of the 2022 draft, that pick was Marc-Andre Fleury being traded to the Minnesota Wild. And depending on how the Wild finished that year, that was either going to be a first-round pick or a second-round pick. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, for Jeff Osborne, who's wondering who these clowns are, maybe he's talking about who we're talking about. I will venture to say that Ryan Green will have a better NHL career than Colin Delia will. And I will stand by that because goalies are a dime a dozen and they're weird. But so if you watch Ryan Green, take a flyer on Ryan Green, because there was a second-round pick that the Blackhawks had from London, Ontario, who was a scorer at the time, but had a lot of good defensive responsibilities. That went by the name of David Bolin, who now is part of Chicago Blackhawk folklore for a number of different reasons. Have any of you watched Ryan Green, or am I crazy? I mean, I know I'm crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy about this.
Yeah, I mean, I really like how you mentioned Bolin there, because, people might see the draft status, might see what he's doing in college and think he's going to be this, high producing player. That's just not really the game that he's going to bring at the pro level. And, I like I said, I really like that you mentioned Bolin, because I think that at the NHL level, he could be a very effective bottom six center who's just a very reliable guy, can do a little bit of everything, and then can chip in with a little bit of offense here and there when you need it. So, definitely get excited about him, but more so, in the sense of that he's just going to be a very effective depth role type of player, as opposed to, a Bedard or a Moore, a Nazer, or a Reichel, or somebody like that. He's going to be, more of that depth guy, but he's the type of guy that you win with, and you need guys like that.
Yeah.
And Gate, Ryan Green was not drafted third overall like Dylan Strome was, so no, he will not be the next Dylan Strome.
Good question, though.
And I think when he was asking who the clowns are, I'm pretty sure he was talking about the three of us, but I digress.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he's right about that.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's spot on, actually. Sorry, Jeff. I took it too personally.
My name is Jeff.
Yeah. No, but so folks, Boston University Wednesday night plays Quinnipiac. It's probably on ESPN Plus. So Boston University, I think, could end up being there. They'll probably book a trip back to the Frozen Four. They're one of the best college hockey teams in the country. But Ryan Green is their Blackhawk prospect, and you might want to check him out. So other NCAA names, and one that I want to touch on, and Shawnee, let's talk about Landon Slaggert.
Yeah.
The forgotten man.
He's definitely the forgotten man. He's been
senior at Notre Dame, world junior vet.
He was drafted in the third round in 2020.
Yeah, so. And he's one of Stanbo's guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's trying to prove the world wrong, I guess, and show that, that Stan actually drafted a real winner. Anyway, 21 years young. Will be a 4-year letterman at Notre Dame. What do you know about him?
He's going to be a 4-year winner at Notre Dame. He has more goals than he did last season. He has 9 currently. He is currently ranked 15th in the NCAA in points per game with a .69 average. He has the 9 goals in 13 games. He had.
Oh boy, Sean's hamster wheel. All right, well, we lost Sean a little bit. If you noticed, his fan wasn't moving. That's probably why the internet died.
True.
Wasn't air circulation or
there
something.
We go.
Oh, there he's back. Okay,
hamster wheeled it. So what I was saying, he's 15th in the NCAA with a .69 points per game. He went back to Notre Dame to play with his younger brother. So he's from South Bend, Indiana. His brother was going to be an incoming freshman at Notre Dame. The Hawks wanted to sign him, and he chose to go back and play with his brother at Notre Dame. So he had a goal and an assist against Minnesota in their win when they split with Minnesota.
Yeah.
He's been Big Ten Player of the Week twice this season already. He was Big Ten Player of the Week the week of October 26th through the 28th, as well as November 14th. Hold on, I had this. November 10th through the 11th. So he's playing well. I envision him he's 6 feet, 183 pounds. He's got some skill. He's probably going to be a bottom 6 forward, which is fine. That you need those. One of the biggest failings of the previous regime was they couldn't draft bottom 6 forwards, and so then they had to overpay guys to fill those roles or trade for guys like Drake Corjulia or whatever his name is, and other guys like that. I figured I had to butcher a name for you guys tonight. Figured that'd be the one. So yeah, and Notre Dame's actually playing really well this year overall. They're 7-3-2.
Yeah.
They didn't make it out of the first round of the Big Ten tournament last year. I think they lost to Michigan State. And the year before that, I think they made it to the Frozen Four and were eliminated by Minnesota St. Cloud, I believe, is what it was. But yeah, him along with Dominic Bass, I believe, are the last 2 Stanbo holdovers in the NCAA. And Bass is at St. Cloud State actually now. He was at Colorado College.
Yeah. That's right. But going back to Slaggert, I think what I like about him, though, is when we talk about Hawk prospects, a lot of them are high draft picks and a lot of them are hopefuls to fill limited spots, I guess, in a sense, where you think about top 6 forwards and, things like that. We're getting notes on your pronunciation style as we speak. This is Dominic Bassi. But I think Landon Slaggert, when you're going to, when guys are starting to come along and they're going to start to play in those top roles, he is an ideal 4th line player.
Yep.
And he could be perfect in that sense. And, big and strong and mature, and has really, taken the time to develop his game at a level that is appropriate for him. And I'm not sure. Yeah. And that might also be they sign him and he spends some time in Rock Vegas, and that's fine.
That's perfectly fine. Those guys are needed. Not everybody's going to be a first-line center or first-line winger. You're going to need guys to fill out the bottom of your roster.
Yeah.
And the really good teams do that. Don't overpay those guys. They just have guys that come through their system so they can cycle through, and eventually you'll hit on a guy. Gunsel from Pittsburgh comes to mind with me. I think they got him in the 3rd round, and he's one of their best players. So he kind of supplanted or augmented their 2 aging stars.
Well, the other thing, too, is, Slaggert, he's in his 4th year at Notre Dame, but he's not that old.
No, he's only 21.
He's only 21 years old. He's not someone who, did 2 or 3 years in the USHL and showed up at Notre Dame at 21.
Right. And then played for 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
So he is going to sign his first pro contract shy of his 22nd birthday. There's plenty of room to grow as a hockey player after that. A couple other names flown out there. We talked briefly, Eric, about Aiden Thompson before the show. What do you know about Aiden Thompson, 3rd round pick in 2022, currently at Denver at DU?
Yeah, give a shout out to our guy Ryan Sykes, who helps out over at the Colorado division of the Rink.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan recently did an interview with Aiden Thompson and kind of just doing a little bit of an update type of piece on how he's doing. And he's a sophomore this year, and he had a very productive freshman season last year with Denver. And then this year coming back, obviously had those expectations, and the results just haven't quite been there, at least on paper.
Right.
So, Ryan was kind of asking him about that. And Aiden was very confident that he's still playing at a similar level as last year, still feels confident in himself, confident in the way he's playing, but the results just haven't been there. And, to me, that's really encouraging, just that, one, he still has the confidence in himself. If you have all that success and then it isn't there again, it can definitely be hard, to remain confident in yourself, especially at that age. So the fact that he is still confident and, is still committed to playing that same style and playing the same way and doing all the little things right, that's really encouraging to hear. So, from what Ryan was able to gather from Aiden in that interview, it sounds like it's kind of more just a matter of when as opposed to if that Aiden will start producing again. So, it'll just be interesting to see, as the season progresses, what might come as far as, the offensive output and stuff. Obviously Denver is a very strong program, as always, but again, this year, very strong. So, hopefully Aiden Thompson will be a big part of that team again this year.
Awesome. Good take. So that's pretty much the main crux of our NCAA Hawks prospects, which is good stuff. So keep an eye on these kids. Some of these guys are going to be regulars in the NHL, and hopefully within the next 4 or 5 years, if not sooner for some of them. Hopefully 2 years for Nazar. We'll see if he's ready to make that jump, and then we'll see about Moore and Green and Rinzel and the others. Rinzel might be a little bit longer, and he's also all of a sudden falling into this backlog of really good defensive prospects that the Hawks have everywhere. So, and this is just the NCAA we're talking about, folks. There's some
because juniors is way better than the NCAA. We had to do the NCAA first.
Had to do the NCAA.
We had to save the best for last.
I mean, my favorite prospects of theirs are in the NCAA rankings right now. I will go ahead and own that, and with a healthy bias around that, I will also not dispute that.
Well, we can't forget about Nick Lardis.
Can't forget about Lardis. He's out there
killing it for the Hamilton.
He's doing really well. Yeah. He's a good player. And we can't forget about the guys in Rockford either. Colton Dock, big night the other night.
Yeah.
Colton Dock with a 4-goal night. So he's threatening, to all of a sudden get a sniff of the show. And we will see some of those Rockford guys later on in the season as it goes along. There will be injuries and call-ups will happen in the spring and things of that nature if the Hawks decide to trim a little bit of some of their veterans and move some parts. We'll see some younger guys come in. The other prospect to talk about who will be in the NCAA ranks next year, Adam Gajan, the goaltender right now with the Green Bay Gamblers in the USHL. He's got a 91% save percentage. He's doing terrific, and he will be a University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldog as a freshman next season, and could probably get the cage right away. Wouldn't you say, Eric?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, especially, kind of with how athletic he is and stuff, he shouldn't have too much of an issue jumping right in. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys got any other parting shots on the Hawks before Thanksgiving break here?
Marcel notched his first professional point at Rockford over the weekend.
Great name.
Yeah.
Awesome name. Way to go, Marcel squared.
Yep. Raquel Welch will be announcing him at the next game. Rochelle,
oh,
come on.
Yeah. The ha-ha. Got it.
When I have to explain my jokes, they're not
funny. Kako has been caca. Yeah, that's right.
I haven't said that.
That was the best one ever. Shawnee, I was laughing for days. Honestly, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Hey, at least I haven't had anyone in silence.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Gajan is ranked 10th in the USHL right now with his goals per game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Well, a happy Thanksgiving to you all. We are approaching the hour. Go Hawks. Let's hope Wednesday night there's a showcase in offense. from young players from Chicago and from Columbus. That would be great.
Knowing our luck, Ryan Donato will have a hat trick, and Corey Perry will chip in 2 assists.
Yeah, that's probably the way it'll work, and they'll win. And so for my Massachusetts neighbors, I hope when you make your Thanksgiving fire, you take all of your Milan Lucic jerseys and you throw them right in there. Forever.
Color me shocked that a guy who threatened to kill Canadians, as Andy pointed out on Twitter,
Yes.
Canadians individually during the handshake line at the end of a playoff series is arrested for something horrible. Color me shocked.
So our thoughts and our condolences to the Lucic family in general for just a horrible, horrible thing that happened the other night. Milan Lucic, domestic violence charge. He was charged today. Don't know what that means for him. He might be deported for all we know, ultimately. But I don't think you will see Milan Lucic ever again in an NHL jersey, nor near the Boston Garden ever again, or at any Boston charity events.
Kyle Davidson and the Hawks missed one there because they were courting Milan Lucic, and he chose to go to Boston, and they pivoted, I believe, to Corey Perry. So
that would have been some more PR for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, we lucked out on that one.
Yeah. Real quick before we go, news in international hockey today. I have not been following it. I saw the tweet. Eric, Sean, what are they trying to do with the World Cup of Hockey here? And they're not going to call it the World Cup of Hockey, but what is this stuff? What is this mayhem, this rubbish?
Yeah, so there's been obviously a large outcry from the hockey community, fans, to get, quote unquote, best on best hockey back out there, since the NHL has not been at the last couple of Olympics. And obviously we had the World Cup of Hockey back in 2016, but that's really the last time that there has been, the quote unquote best on best. So ever since then, there's been, a lot of, demanding from people of, we got to get best on best international hockey back out there. And, that's something that the NHL has kind of been working on, and, having a lot of conversations with the NHLPA and, trying to figure out a way to make that happen. And it seemed for a while like it would be, kind of a repeat of the last World Cup of Hockey, maybe, not with the Team Europe or the North American under 23 team, which is unfortunate because I think everybody loved that. But regardless, bringing it back in some way, which I think everybody was on board with. And then there were reports that came out today that for the next, event, it's not the World Cup of Hockey apparently, but it's looking like it'll be, I think, in 2025. And it sounds like it's just going to be the US, Canada, Sweden, and Finland, which to me, why bother? Because you're missing out on, at least half of the talent pool. So,
and Russia and Belarus they're banned from international competition until 2024. So that's probably why they're not invited. But yeah.
So Russia won't field a World Junior team.
Correct.
This year.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're missing also Germany. You're missing out on Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so feeble. Like, it's just, that's it.
Why bother?
Like, what's the point?
That's not a best on best tournament if you're only showcasing half of.
Why can't you move the World Championships to August and bring in the best? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, that's
Canada Cup. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Canada Cup was everything.
Yeah, it was.
To your point about the World Championships, I mean, the one thing is that's a double IHF event, whereas the World Cup of Hockey is theoretically an NHL event.
Got it.
So I think that's why that wouldn't happen. But still, like I said, if you're only going to be showcasing 4 countries, what's the point? Because that's not a best on best international competition.
No, that's just silliness.
Right. And there's the article, or at least what Wish had put out. They were saying they're hoping for 2028 to bring back the World Cup of Hockey. So it's not even in the not so distant future. Perhaps it's maybe they want to get some publicity out there for hockey because the Olympics are next summer, the summer games, and maybe they're trying to get the buzz for hockey going into the Winter Olympics the following year. That's my only thought process on it. But if Gary Bettman's in charge, there's no rhyme, reason, or logic to anything that's done. And why is Gates still bombarding us with tweets?
No, I don't know. I'm just trying to post his tweet up there. I have no idea how to do it. But
Okay.
there's a tweet that everyone check out Puckin Hostel's tweet, I guess. I don't know.
I can read it if you'd like it. He's talking about going back to Adam Guyan, and I believe it's pronounced Guyan, not Gajan, just FYI. But saying Adam Guyan and Drew Comesso, one of them are your next legit G1 leaning Guyan, but Comesso is more Crawford style, which I agree. I mean, I think to me, Guyan has a higher ceiling just because of the athleticism. But yeah, I like that take there, Gate.
And if you're suggesting Jackson Stauber, please check out my article on the Rink.com. It debunks that theory. I believe Eric had heard something on another podcast about that, so check out my article. And shout out to Andy on his last article. I plugged him in the last pod. It was very well done.
Thanks. No, thank you guys. I appreciate that. That was a fun one. But now, we talked about, Reichel a lot, and hopefully matching him up with your two best offensive players will get him going. And hopefully that's Wednesday night.
If it doesn't, there are bigger problems.
Bigger problems ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to rethink.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
Thanks. Big thanks and a big shout out and happy Thanksgiving to all the guys at the rink. Jeff Osborne, Ray Nepientek, Eric, Sean, the Bardo, Miski, and the Colorado dude who's killing it. What's his name again?
And Matt.
Matt Chalky. Don't forget Chalky.
Yeah.
Yeah, not forget Matt. All right,
He's
Matt.
good on those recaps.
Yeah. Colorado, we got Ryan and Brennan and Zach and Savvy.
Awesome. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all y'all in Colorado. And thank you, Michael Stevens. It's a very nice comment of yours. Appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving from the gatekeeper to everyone out there. And take care, everybody. Be safe. Go Hawks. Let's hope for a lot of offense on Wednesday night. And we will be back in touch after the holiday break. Take care.